everybody. It's Bharon with One Chiropractic, and I'm super excited. I've been teasing you for the last couple sessions about this time with Dr. Bob Hoffman, who to me, which is interesting enough, and I didn't say I was going to say this, Doc, so please don't be mad at me for saying this, but I had the opportunity to sit with Dr. Hoffman at a dinner in Ohio when I brought him in to do a seminar. I had no idea that you have been a part of so many historical events in our profession, and I could listen to your storytelling forever. But Dr. Hoffman has literally been at the very beginning of the DE days and the very beginning of understanding how our profession kind of shaped itself in the middle part of our history. And so I'm very excited to have you with us today. For most of you, you should know Dr. Hoffman from his years at the Master Circle Global. I brought Dr. Hoffman on this series because, Doc, and I'm going to let you share your story. I don't want to steal it from you, but you guys did a massive pivot. About 3 to 4 or 5 years ago, really going this direction of going from pain to brain. And so I'm excited for you to share, first of all, in this session, kind of that journey for you individually as a chiropractor, because you were steeped in the DE days, steeped in the subluxation. And I mean, that was your core. So for you to be open enough to listen to a different conversation, I want people to know that story, but also kind of the shift that happened within the Master Circle to make this your primary focus and really the deliverable that you guys are offering today. So I'm going to kind of turn it over to you to share with our viewers kind of your journey individually and then the journey of the Master Circle.
Very good. Thank you, Bharon. First, it's just absolutely a pleasure to be on this interview with you. And I'm so excited about this whole process and what's going on in the profession. And I just want everyone to know that I've been a chiropractor for 41 years and I've loved every minute of it. And I know my best is in front of me, not behind me. There's never been a better time to be a chiropractor. It doesn't always look that way every day. There are certainly some really crappy things going on in the profession. That's always been the case, but there are some amazing things going on in the profession.
Completely
and
agree.
Your happiness or unhappiness is going to depend on which one of those you focus on.
Yep.
I'm focusing on all the good things. So my journey is I practiced upper cervical specific, some full spine work in New York, in Long Island, New York. And I had one of, if not the largest practice in the state. Again, loved every minute of it. My last 10 years in practice, I had 3 full-time associates. And honestly, my last 2 or 3 years in practice, I practiced for about 4 hours a week because I was the president of the ICA. I was the chairman of the board of my state association. I was an entrepreneur out on the road, trying to help colleagues. I was getting into the coaching industry, and I had a young family to raise. And I'm a big believer in having balance in your life, and you can't be everywhere at all times. My 3 associates were amazing, and my practice just kept growing and becoming more impactful and more profitable. When I left practice, I joined the Master Circle, and for our first 10 years or so, the company grew beautifully, and then it hit the fan, so to speak. The world changed, the economy changed, chiropractors changed. But the problem is chiropractors didn't change with the changing times.
That's right.
And it dawned on me that we were still asking the same case history questions we were asking in the 1950s. And we were still offering the same care plans, but to a far sicker population. And we just failed to adapt. And our chiropractic philosophy has always taught us that when you adapt to our internal and external stresses, you're in a state of ease. And when you fail to adapt to these stresses, you're in a state of dis-ease.
That's right.
Please forgive the New York City traffic in the background.
That's all right.
And honestly, there are indications, way too many indications, that our profession's in a state of dis-ease. And that's fixable. Mm-hmm. It's totally fixable. Just like the body can get back to health, our profession can get back to health. And every practice can get back to health. But we have to adapt. And we have to recognize that we have failed to adapt. And I gave you 2 examples, but trust me, I can give you 200 examples.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I've been out on the road for 30 years, speaking about 30 times a year. And for maybe 20 of those years, I used to have young docs come up to me and go, hey, I don't want to have to reinvent the wheel. Tell me what I need to know. Mm-hmm. But for the last 10 years, I don't get that at all. You know what I get? I get guys in practice 31 years. It could be 25, it could be 35. I'm picking 31 for today. And they say to me privately, you know, doc, I don't think I've changed anything, but the way I used to get new patients isn't working as well. And the way I used to find staff isn't working as well. And my report of findings that used to be killer isn't killer anymore. And my patients are dropping out. And I've actually gone backwards 5 or 10 or 15 or 20% a year for the last few years. Do you think you could help me? And I always say the exact same two things to these doctors. Number one, have you really been in practice 31 years? Or have you been in practice 1 year that you've repeated 31 times?
Right.
And think about that for a moment.
Yeah.
For most of us, it's Groundhog Day.
Right.
Every day is just like yesterday, and the day before that, and the day before that. And the second thing I say to these doctors is, in the beginning of your question is the answer to your question. And I haven't really changed anything.
Right.
So we have to do that. So I started to change the conversation. And you said it was 3 or 4 years ago. I appreciate that, but it was really about 8 or 9 years ago.
Okay.
I started to change the conversation. And what happened to me personally is, as a, you know, I have my own seminars, but I'm also an invited guest speaker maybe 20 times a year throughout the world. And in a span of about 6 months, I got invited to speak at 5 different chiropractic neurology seminars from 5 different chiropractic neurologists. And I got to tell you, there were some major, amazing distinctions. Number one, each one of these guys was brilliant. Number two, no one talked to each other. There was no cross-pollination, no sharing. They all had made amazing distinctions separate from everybody else. Number three, they all spoke a language that nobody else in the room ever understood. So my claim to fame when I started to change the conversation is I took their material. I gave them the credit. It wasn't my material, but I put it in a street language. I'm a language guy.
Sure.
I put it in a street language that patients could understand, that it can create a visceral emotional reaction. And I took the best of all of them, the best in class, and used that as the foundation. And I must tell you that I started to change the conversation in training my members and their practices that were always growing at about a 30% clip, which is awesome, started growing at a 50% clip, which is off the charts. And they were thrilled. But they would be, I speak with my members every single week. So like the next week they would say, Bob, I changed the conversation the way you showed me, but now my patients want to know this, or they need this. What do I do next? And Bharon, I literally had to reinvent the model of chiropractic practice. There was new communication, new fee systems, new recommendations at the report of findings, new report of findings, new business model. I had to reinvent it. So the linchpin was changing the conversation.
That's right.
So much so that I had to go out and I wrote a book called Changing the Conversation, where we have 41 brain-based wellness popular press articles that every healthcare professional should read, fully understand, and use to change the conversation to grow their practice. And for all the people watching this, I'd love to give you that book completely for free. No cost, no obligation. All you have to do is go to your cell phone, and type in the text messaging, type in the word 1 to 516-231-6762. That's it. Go to 516-231-6762 and type in the word 1. You know what 1 stands for me? Optimal neurologic expression. And at the end of the day, as doctors of chiropractic, that is our only objective. It isn't about the adjustment. It isn't about the subluxation. It isn't about the body self-healing. All of those things are important, but that's not the central core. The central core is our reason for adjusting the subluxation is to allow the body to express optimal neurological expression. So if you'll just go to that number and type in the word 1, we will send you the book completely free of charge. And by the way, a day or two or three later, I'll also send you some videos that I've created, again, free of charge, that will actually show you, that walk you through the process step by step on how to convert your practice into a brain-based wellness practice. So that became our transformation. And once we, as a company, the Master Circle Global, started telling this new story, and our members' practices were growing through the roof, what happened is they started referring it a lot of their friends and colleagues and classmates. I started getting invited to different types of seminars to be a guest speaker. I was talking about brain-based chiropractic, about how to change the conversation, new case history questions to ask, new exams to perform, a whole new paradigm. And I got to tell you, our company started growing equivalently to how our members' practices were growing. We've had, our last 2 years have been the best 2 years we've had in quite a long while. And I'm very proud of that. And I share that with you for one major reason. If you'll just adapt.
That's right.
Without giving up your passion, your purpose, your philosophy. You don't need to. Adapting doesn't mean giving something up to get somewhere. It means modifying, refining the questions you ask, your certainty, your confidence, how you show up every day, how you train and take care of your staff. Get this, how you take care of your staff is how your staff takes care of your patients. So there's a whole new model. We've mastered it, we've refined it, and we've now proven it. It's proven. We've gotten consistently amazing results, and you can too. But you need to know that you have to make these minor adaptations, and you have to know how to make those adaptations. Now, once you can put those two things in place, I'm telling you, any chiropractor can grow their practice as big as they want, as successful as they want, see as many or as few patients as they want, attract endless new patients, get outstanding patient compliance, unbelievable organic referrals. It's easy to win big in chiropractic today.
That's awesome. And I can't wait to get in future sessions. We'll start getting into some of the meat of what it is that you guys are teaching that's making that transformation. But one of the things you said that I want to highlight before we end this session is that, the power of changing a conversation in a way that the people you're talking to understand it is everything, right? I mean, that's communication 101, whether it's a relationship, a marriage, a coworker, right? We focus so much on what we're trying to say rather than making sure that people understand what we're saying. That's where the disconnect has often been in chiropractic, that we own what we believe. We want our patients to understand it so much, but we're speaking in terms similar to what you experienced initially when you went to those neurological events, that, no one understands what you're saying. We love it. We get the end purpose, or the end premise, but we're not really getting to the point where we get it. And those of you watching, that's what I want these sessions with Dr. Hoffman to be about, is how do we start, we're changing in your mind about what's happening with the adjustment, what's happening in the body, where the brain actually comes into play. We talked, with Dr. Sullivan about the muscle spindles and why the spine itself is a working organism and all those great things. So we've given you a lot of science. We've given you a lot of the back end story. Now I want to start moving over the next few guests that we're going to bring into these sessions is going to be talking about, okay, now how, if we own that premise, how do we actually start communicating it in a way? And so I wanted Dr. Hoffman to share kind of his transformation and the story of himself and the Master Circle so that you knew there is power behind this. This isn't just fun talk. That we believe at One Chiropractic that this topic of going from pain to brain legitimately is going to bring our profession together. We're going to have commonality, and we're going to recreate some of those moments in the 80s where we were actually colleagues and not competitors, where we were so affluent that we weren't threatened by someone else next door to us. As a matter of fact, we were inviting people to move into our town because we wanted more people to do what we were doing. And I think this conversation has the ability to create that mentality in our profession again. So Dr. Hoffman, thank you so much for that synopsis. We're going to kind of cut this video down, and then we're going to go to our next session where we're going to start digging into some of the meat of the things that Dr. Hoffman's seen in this conversation. So remember, share this. If you are loving this series, you're deep into our series now, about halfway through. We want other people to join the conversation as well. So send them to onechiropractic.org, have them go to the Neurologically Based Chiropractic tab and join this series. We appreciate you. We love you, and we'll see you tomorrow. God bless.